How do we decide what gets performed? How should we decide what gets performed? To start, let's ask the first question again. What is the case? How do we decide what gets performed? Of course, I am a well-informed, intelligent musician, a professional, experienced. I know what I'm doing. I'm deciding what I play. But am I well-informed? Well-informed enough? Really? Or intelligent? Intelligent enough to decide? Do I decide? Do I decide anything at all about my performing work, in fact? Do I even know if I decide? At this stage of the conversation, I'm fairly sure I don't. I don't either know or decide. I have no idea. So who chooses what is played? Well, obviously, it's the promoters. People like that person, what's their name? Who runs that festival, you know, the one, that person. They decide everything. I can't play at that festival without playing the music of the composers the boss likes. You know, that one. And there's another promoter you all know. I always forget the name, who plays the same thing every year. So if I end up playing that music, it's their fault, not mine. And there's that third festival in, where was it? That town with the Hauptbahnhof and the kebab place and the total lack of record shops. That town. There you can do what you want, as long as it's in the style that the boss likes. You know, what's that style again? The style with the sounds that do, you know, that and that and that, you know. And the boss's name, I forget. Lovely person, brilliant mind, just narrow, a bit narrow. So it's not my fault, it's the promoter's fault, those pesky gatekeepers. Do some promoters really believe this? That they decide? Some obviously do believe it, that is, not decide. None of them decide. If promoters really decided for themselves, would it be just a coincidence that they often decide to play the same composers or concentrate on the same themes? Are they being influenced by each other? Do they meet each July at a great restaurant and decide who is in and who is out? At what point will they decide to play the great Polish composer Piotr Zak or the German composer Karl-Heinz Klopweiser with his explorations of German silence, which is, of course, the most organic kind of silence? This is getting a bit facetious. I'm treating serious subjects with inappropriate, if dry, humour. Sorry about that. Anyway, there really are some promoters who go beyond the call of duty in order to make the right decisions. Those who play music really nobody knows, even though everyone should know it. And those who replay old music. And those who choose the road less travelled within a certain style, period, or country. From those promoters, we can learn a lot. Aside, if you are a promoter listening to this, it's you personally that I am talking about right now. So, if the promoters do not meet in a shady restaurant hidden in a city far away and decide communally what's what, how do they decide? Well, clearly there are criteria. But these are not any old criteria. These are the criteria of a well-informed, intelligent promoter. These criteria are special. They are rooted in knowledge and understanding, perhaps also rooted in a sense of historical necessity, and above all, cultural context. Sounds good, doesn't it? But hang on a sec, there's something fishy going on here. Where did the promoters get their knowledge and understanding in the first place? And their sense of history, and their sense of cultural context? I've got it. It comes from books. MGG, or The New Grove, or Adorno, or was it Walter Benjamin? Maybe even some of this wisdom comes from the newspapers. It's not the fault of the promoters, it's the fault of the journalists and the musicologists and the critics, that means you. The promoters don't really decide anything. It's basically all decided by writers of some kind or another. And where did these writers get their ideas? Well, clearly from other writers. They read each other's books and steal ideas. In a good way, of course. But what about before that? Before they start reading their colleagues' work? Before their colleagues have even started writing work? Well, I heard once that it's a true thing that writers get all their ideas from either their primary school teachers or their parents. Really, it must be the parents, don't you think? Or is it the parents of the primary school teachers? I always get confused on that point. Either way, it's the long-dead parents of someone long ago that are to blame for all repertoire choices. Let's start again. Let's try to talk about how one should really program music. Well, I haven't got the faintest idea. I don't know how to do it. When visiting a restaurant, I've taken to asking one of my dining partners to order for me. It relieves me of the responsibility, lowers my stress, and they somehow always choose the right thing. Well-balanced, tasty, and nutritious. I propose to ask my friend who plays another instrument, that friend who has great ideas, to program my concerts for me. It would be like in the restaurant, but even better, because, to be honest, they have a much better understanding of music than they do of food, in my opinion anyway. Or maybe we can separate me from the choices even further. I'll get my friend to ask one of his friends, or her friends, whom I don't know, to program my concerts, like a double-blind thing. That way I'm making no decisions, and there is hardly any influence from fashion, or at least none I have invited. The ideal programming, no influence from fashion. And if you're lucky, no one has ever played this music before. I once heard of a musician, I can't remember their name, but they were from that country to the left, described as an asset stripper. In other words, they would find unfashionable, unplayed composers and program and preferably record every single piece by that composer so that no one else could ever lay claim to them. Then they would never play them again, and nor would anyone else. Asset stripping, like a growing empire stripping small countries of natural resources. It's a pretty disgusting idea, no? So let's not do that, okay? But we must go back a step. I finally used the F word, fashion. Like it or not, fashion, and its even uglier sibling, advertising, is a powerful force in everything we do, including our musical praxis. We must fight this. How? How do we fight the urges we get as an unseen result of fashion? Think about your programming. Think twice. Think again. Like the promoters mentioned above, take the road less traveled, or at least go down it a bit to take a look and make sure you're not missing something. Use bizarre criteria. Program music only from countries which begin with the letter S. Or program music by people you have only eaten oysters with. Or by people you have disliked so much in your life that you would never have eaten with them anything, not even cornflakes. Any of those entirely stupid ideas is better than playing a composer because it's fashionable to do so. Never give a first performance. Only give second, third, and fourth performances. Then you'll at least have the chance to find out if the piece is any good before committing. And by not commissioning anyone, you cut money out of the equation, which can only be good. And very seriously, not playing pieces because they were already played is a terrible way to program. So that doesn't defend us from fashion either. If you do have the opportunity to commission, commit yourself to the result, however bad you think the piece might be. Play it often and record it professionally if appropriate. And play what interests you for whatever reason and what you like for whatever reason. You can do so in the sure knowledge that at least one large group of people will show utter disinterest, or blind rage at your choices. A different group each time, of course. Now, some of these ideas are pretty lame. So I'd like to invite you all to produce better ideas in the discussion this afternoon at 6 p.m. Darmstadt time. It can only improve matters. Thank you.